Hello everyone, assalamu alaikum. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how we can actually set up our routers. Alright, so this lab is called Introduction to Router Commands. So basically in this lab I'm gonna go into Cisco packet tracer simulation software and I will teach you how you can actually set your routers in the correct way. Okay, so in our previous tutorials, in our previous classes, we have already seen the theoretical concepts. We have already learned all our necessary theoretical concepts, but we did not know how we can actually set up our router. Because in our previous tutorials, every time I did the router setup and I did all the necessary configurations, so you didn't need to set up the router yourself. All right, but in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how you can set up the router all by yourself and how you can run the simulation based upon the router that you actually set up. All right, so let's begin. So you can see that there are some questions in our document. So there are actually about 11 questions. So all of these questions are actually based upon the router configuration. Okay, so we'll go step by step based upon these questions, and we'll also learn how we can configure our routers. So let me just move into my Cisco packet tracer simulation software. So this is basically the topology that is shown in this document. Okay, so this is basically the topology. So now I will teach you how you can configure these routers. Okay, so let me start. But before I begin, let me tell you that all of you should complete all the previous tutorials before coming on to this one, because if you have not completed all of those previous tutorials, then you won't be able to understand what I'm doing in this tutorial. Alright, so if you haven't done so, please go back to the previous tutorials and watch them and then come back to this tutorial again. Okay, so let's begin. So at the very first question, you can see that I have to configure the router and I have to enter the global configuration mode. Okay, so what is the global configuration mode? So let me show you. So I'll be configuring the CSE router. Okay, you can check it out. There are two different routers. One is CSE and one is ECE. Alright, so I want to configure the CSE router. Okay, so let me show you another thing, that there are two different windows in Cisco packet tracer. One is this one and the other window is basically this one. It is shown as PT activity. Okay, so my actual router config window has been open for like about 15 minutes, so that's why this activity has also been running for 15 minutes. Okay, so you can see that the current completion rate is 0%, and once I'm done with the whole configuration, then it will be shown as 100%, and it will also increase step by step. Like if I complete one step, then it will increase a bit, and then if I complete another step, then it will increase even more. So this completion rate right here will increase based upon my completion rate of this whole configuration. Okay, so I'll also come back to this PT activity window every now and then to check whether how much I have actually completed. Okay, so let me begin. So I'll be configuring the CSE router. So what I need to do is to click that CSE router and go into CLI. Okay, I'll be going into this part, CLI. I will not touch the configuration part. You can see right here that if I click on that, then it gives me a message of use config tab is locked, because you can actually do all the configuration by just dragging and dropping some things in the configuration mode. Okay, in the configuration tab. So that's why this tab is locked, so you can't actually select this one. So what you need to do is that you need to go into CLI, and this is known as command line interface, CLI. Okay, and then you can see this window, this interface right there. Okay, so press return to get started. So at first I'll press return. Okay, so that means the return is indicating the enter button, so I'll be pressing the enter button. So as you can see, if I press the enter button, then it takes me to a different mode. It gives me something like router, and there's a arrow sign. Okay, so let me show you a screenshot right there. So right now I'm in this mode, router and arrow sign, and this mode is known as user execution mode. Okay, user exec, basically user execution mode. So there are several types of modes in case of router configuration. For example, if I see a mode as this one, router hash, then it will be known as privileged execution mode. If I see this one, then it will be known as global configuration mode. If I see this one, then it will be known as interface configuration mode. Okay, router config -if, so basically configuring the interface, so that's why interface configuration mode. So router config line configuration mode, and router config mode is basically all the other modes. All right, so there are various types of modes in case of router configuration. So this is very important to know where in which mode you are actually working on. So because there are various types of commands in case of router configuration, and all of those commands do not work in all of those modes. All right, so some commands work only in user execution mode, some commands work only in privileged execution mode, or some may work only in global configuration mode. So you need to understand which mode you are working on. Okay, otherwise there might be a problem in case you want to write a command, so you may write it in a wrong mode, and then your command will not be executed. Okay, so please take a look at this picture and make sure that you memorize the modes. Okay, so let me go back. So yeah, right now I'm in user execution mode. So the task here is actually it wants me to enter global configuration mode. So let me show you how you can move into global configuration mode. So the first thing you want to do is that you want to write a command which is known as enable. Okay, enable. So enable, and this is not actually case sensitive, so you can write it using smaller small letters or capital letters, either way. All right, so enable, and after writing enable I will hit enter. Okay, so I hit enter, and right now you can see that the symbol actually changed. Right now I'm in this mode, router hash, and router hash is known as privileged execution mode, right? Privileged execution mode. So right now I'm in privileged execution mode, but the question right here wanted me to move into global configuration mode. So to move into global configuration mode I need to write another command. So the command I want to write is configure terminal. So let me show you, configure terminal. So configure terminal. All right, so if I write this command and then I hit enter, then you will see that it will give me a message something like enter configuration commands, one per line, end with Ctrl Z, etc. So the new mode right here is router and config and hash. So basically this mode right here is known as the global configuration mode, and as you can see that it the question wanted me to enter global configuration mode, and I just entered global configuration mode. So at first I was in user execution mode, then I wrote enable and hit enter, and then I moved into privileged execution mode, this router hash mode right here, and then I wrote another command like configure terminal, and then I moved into global configuration mode. Okay, so this mode right here is known as global configuration mode. So let me show you another thing, that once I'm into the global configuration mode I have already completed a piece of my task. So that's why the completion rate okay, so the completion rate right here, you can see that it still didn't increase actually, because the task we just did was not actually set up in this activity wizard. Okay, so but once we complete some of our more tasks, then you will see that there is a change in this completion rate. Okay, I'll come back to this again. So let me move back into the command line interface. So let me see what my next task is. Okay, so my next task is to configure host name and enable password. Okay, password will be class and encrypted. So it is telling me that I need to configure a host name. Okay, I need to set up a host name for my router, and I will also need a password for my router, and it is also saying me what the password will be. So the password will be class. Okay, so this is my password, and the password will be encrypted. So let me move back to my router configuration window, and right now I'm in global configuration mode, and now I need to write the host name. Okay, so to set up the host name I need to write another command, and it is known as host name. Okay, host name, and now the host name I want to give. Okay, so let's say since this is the CSE router, so I want to keep the name as CSE. Okay, so host name CSE, and if I hit enter, then you will see that the host name actually changed from router to CSE. Okay, you can use any kind of names, but for our experiment we're using CSE. Okay, host name CSE, and the name actually changed here. Okay, right now we're still in global configuration mode, but our name was changed, the router name was changed, right? So from router it is now CSE. So now it also wanted me to set up a password, and it told me that the password will be class and it should be encrypted. So for encryption I'll be using this command, service space password hyphen encryption. Alright, service password hyphen encryption, and I will hit enter. So it is important to mention that you will not see any kind of change right here when you write this command. Okay, you will not see any kind of change, but actually this command is working in the background. So but you will not see any kind of change in your interface window. Okay, so now I have to set up the password. Okay, so the password I want to set up is class, but to set up the password I need to write something. I need to write enable. It's a keyword. It is not the same as the previous enable. All right, so this enable right here I'm writing for my password setup. Okay, so after enable I'll write another keyword which is secret. Okay, enable secret, then I'll write the password. Okay, the password is class. It is given in my question that the password should be class. Okay, in real life you can actually set up any kind of password you want, but for this experiment, for our experiment, we want our password to be class, so that's why I wrote class as the password. So this is the way to write the password: enable space secret space the password you want to give. Okay, so then I will hit enter. So you'll also not see any kind of change here. Okay, because this password has been set, but it is not something that you will see in this interface. So let me show you that how this configuring password part is helping us. Okay, so before going to that, just let me show you another thing, that right now you can see the completion rate was the completion rate actually increased from 0 to 12%, right? Because we did some of the tasks necessary for this completion rate to go up. We did set up the host name, we also set up the password, and we encrypted our password. So some of our tasks were completed, right? So that's why the completion rate moved from 0 to 12%, and you can actually see how much you have completed till now. You can actually click on this button, check results, and if you click on this button and go into assessment items, then you will see all the tasks you need to do to get 100% on this activity window. So right now I've just did these three tasks right there: the host name, the enable secret part, the password part, and the encryption part, service password encryption. I still have a lot of things left to do. Okay, and if you wanna go back to your window, just click on this close button right here, and you'll be back to this window again. Okay, so right now I'm on 12%, so let's move on. So I wanted to show you that what benefit we are getting by creating this password right here. Okay, so let's say that I wanna go back. Okay, so if from any step, from any mode you want to go back, then you just need to write exit and hit enter. Okay, so you can see that right now I'm in privileged execution mode. I was in global configuration mode, but I wrote exit and hit enter, and now I'm in privileged execution mode. So let's say I want to go back another step, so another exit, and I am back to the very beginning. Okay, so you can see press return to get started. So this is the very first message that I see whenever I move into CLI. So right now I'm at the very beginning. So let's begin. So I'm pressing enter, and you can see right here that it is taking me it has taken me to user execution mode. This is user execution mode. All right, so now I want to go to privileged execution mode. So I will write enable, just as before, enable. And right now you can see that it is asking me for a password. So it did not ask me for this password when I wrote enable at the first time, because we did not set up any kind of password at that time, right? But right now we entered a password, and that's why it is actually asking me for a password, and that password is actually class which we actually set up a few moments ago. So if I just write my password, but here's an interesting thing: if I write the password, you will not see any kind of written text here. Okay, so let me show you. Right now I'm actually typing the password, but you did not see any kind of thing. Okay, so but my password was actually typed. So right now if I hit enter, then you will see that I can actually enter my desired mode. Okay, yeah, as you can see right now I'm in privileged execution mode. So let me just show you again. Okay, so enable to go into privileged execution mode, but it is asking me for a password, and sorry. Okay, so I just wrote my password, but it did not show me any kind of text right here, because it is basically a password and it doesn't want to show me the actual password I'm typing. So that's why it is not showing here. So right now if I hit enter, okay, so maybe I typed the wrong password, so let me try it again. Yeah, so I wrote the password this time, and you can see if I hit enter, now I have moved into privileged execution mode. Okay, so this is what that password do. This is what that password this is what that password does. So the password I actually set up a few moments ago. So let me move into the global configuration mode again. So I was in global configuration mode, and to go into global configuration mode I need to write configure terminal. Okay, so let me give you another tips. So if you wanna just like get a suggestion from this interface, then you can just write half of the command, maybe a few letters of that command, and then you can just press tab on your keyboard. Okay, press tab. So if I press tab, then you will see there's an automatic suggestion. Okay, so yeah, as you can see I pressed tab there, and it gave me the whole command at one shot. Okay, so it gave me a suggestion, basically that configure terminal. Yeah, and I want to write that command, so I will just hit enter right now, and right now I'm in the global configuration mode. Okay, so let me move into the next part. Okay, so the next question is configure the line console and line VTY with the password Cisco, then later encrypt all of these passwords too. Okay, so previously we did set up our password for our overall router, but right now the question wants me to set up two different line configuration. So one is basically line console and the other is line VTY. Okay, and it also wants me to use a password which is Cisco basically, and it also wants me to encrypt that password, encrypt those passwords too. Okay, so let me just tell you in brief what a line console or a line VTY is. So basically the console line indicates the line which is actually connected between the router and your device and your computer basically. Okay, so there's a console port on your router, and a port in your CPU. So there's a cable going from the CPU to the router. So this is basically the console connection. All right, and the line VTY here is indicating basically the telnet login. The telnet login is actually something like TeamViewer. Okay, so the remote login. So basically, if I wanna log in remotely to another device, then I will be using this line VTY connection. Okay, so these are two different lines there, and if you want to learn more about line console and line VTY, you can always search internet. I'll also provide some links in the description section of this video, so please take a look at them. All right, but basically line console is the line indicating the connection from your computer to your router, and line VTY is indicating the connection that is used for remote login. All right, so basically the telnet login. Okay, you will also learn about telnet in your in computer networks course. Okay, in computer networks course more briefly. Okay, so now let's just set up the line console and line VTY. Alright, so I'm in global configuration mode right now. So I want to set up the console configuration, the line console configuration at first. So the rule to configure the line console is actually something like this. I have to write line at first, line space console, and then there will be a number. So there will be a digit basically. So the digit is basically 0. Most of the cases it is 0 because basically it indicates the sequence number of your connection. So usually there is only one connection going from your device to router, so that's why we're starting the counting from 0. Okay, so we're indicating the number as 0. So usually this number is 0. Line console 0. All right, so then I'll hit enter. So right now let me just show you that I have created a line. I have created a command that indicates the communication between the device and the router. So if I write log in right here, so log in and hit enter, you'll see that it gives me a message, login disabled on line 0. So this is the line it is indicating until password is set, because I have not created a password till now. All right, so let me just create the password right now. So the password was Cisco. The question told me that the password would be Cisco, so I'll just write the command like this, password space then Cisco. All right, so that's it, the password has been set. And you'll also see that I'm now in a different configuration. Okay, so when I wrote the line console 0, it took me to a different mode, CSE config line. So this is known as the line configuration mode. All right, so I'm in a different mode right now, and I set up a password which is named Cisco. Okay, so this is the password, and it also wanted me to create an encryption for that password. So I'll write the encryption command, service then password then hyphen and then encryption. Okay, so that's it. So service password encryption, and whenever I created the command of service password encryption, the password was encrypted and it automatically moved me back to global configuration window from the line configuration window. So this is important. Okay, so whenever you type this command, service password encryption, it encrypts the password and then it moves you back to the global configuration window again. Okay, so another thing you need to remember is in the line configuration window, I wrote the password using this command, the password keyword at first and then the actual password. But when we did the we set up the password for our overall router in global configuration mode, you can see that the command was actually different. In that case, there were two different keywords, enable and secret, and then there was the actual password, which is class. Okay, so the procedure to set up password in different modes are actually different, so don't mix them up together. Okay, so the line console has already been set up. So let me just show the completion rate, and you can see that I have moved from 12% to 20% right now. All right, so let me set up the line VTY part right now. Okay, I've already completed the line console part. So now I'm gonna set up the line VTY part. All right, so line VTY. So I will move into the line configuration part again. So right now I'm in global configuration mode. So to go into line VTY, I'll write line, then VTY, then there will be two different numbers. So I'll be writing 0 space 4. Okay, so what does it mean? So that means that there can be about 5 connections for remote login using this topology. Okay, using this topology. So using this router, basically there can be 5 remote connections using this router. So this number can be different. It can be from 0 to 15. Basically the models we use actually support 16 different lines, so that's why the number can be highest up to 15. All right, from 0 to 15. But in our example, we're actually using only 5 different lines. All right, so that's why it is written as from 0 to 4. This is the starting sequence, and this is the ending sequence number. All right, so that's why it is written as 0 to 4. So line VTY space 0 space 4, and then I will hit enter. So right now if I write login again, just to show you the idea of why we need to set up a password. So you can see that we have created 5 lines. So all of those lines were created randomly, and it is giving me the message that 5 lines were created. So those lines are numbered as 132, 133, 134. These are totally random. Okay, so but login is disabled on all of those lines. Okay, login is disabled on all of those lines. So why? Because password is not set till now. So let me just set up my password. Okay, so the password will be Cisco for this one too. So the command is actually, we're in the line configuration mode, and the rule to write password in this mode is actually write the password keyword, and then there's a space, and then there's the actual password. Okay, so it also wanted me to create an encryption. So the command is service password hyphen encryption. All right, and that's it. So whenever I wrote the command service password encryption, it automatically moved me back to global configuration mode. Okay, so right now I have already set up the line console and also the line VTY, and you can see that my completion rate moved from what, maybe 20. It was 20 before, and now it's 37%. Okay, all right, so now let me show you what I actually did. So I did set up some passwords. So let me move into the very beginning again. So I just want to write exit, and yeah, right now I'm in I'm in privileged execution mode, and now I wanna write exit again. Okay, so yeah, now I'm at the very beginning. Press return to get started. So let me press enter. Yeah, so there it is. You can see that whenever I pressed enter, it just it immediately asked me for user access verification. So previously it didn't ask me for user access verification. It just gave me the user execution mode. Okay, it took me into this mode. Okay, CSE arrow sign. So it took me into this mode, but right now it is asking me for user access verification, and you can see that I did spend some time without typing anything, and that's why it gave me a timeout. So that's why it is showing that timeout expired, and it took me to the very beginning again. So I will press enter again, and now it is showing me user access verification again. So in this case I need to write the password. So the user access verification actually indicates the password that I set up for my line console. Okay, so right here for the line console I set the password as Cisco. Okay, so I need to write Cisco here to enter. So I'm writing Cisco, and if I press enter, then you will see, then if I write the correct password, then it takes me to the user execution mode. Okay, so right now I am at the user execution mode, and let me just go back to show you again. Okay, so user access verification, this is the line console password. Okay, so the line console password is Cisco. So I'm writing Cisco and I'm hitting enter, and right now it gives me to the user execution mode, and right now I want to move to privileged execution mode. So I'll be writing enable, and then it prompts me for another password, and this password is basically the router password, the password you set at the very beginning. Okay, so yeah, this one, enable secret class. So this is the password that is needed for this step right there. So if you want to move from user execution mode to privileged execution mode, then it will ask you for the password which was set up as the main router password. Okay, so this is the password which was set up as class. So right now I'm writing class and I'm hitting enter, and you can see it takes me to privileged execution mode. So the user access verification actually indicates the line console password, and the password which is asked after you write enable and hit enter, that password indicates the main router password. Okay, so after you write the password correctly, then it takes you to the privileged execution mode, and right now you're at the privileged execution mode. Alright, so let's move into our next question. So we have completed till part 3. Okay, question 3. So let's move into question 4. So configure the first Ethernet 0/0 interface with and serial 2/0 interface with the given IP address in the above table. So it is indicating this table basically. Okay, so you can see the so there are some addresses given here, and you can see that it wants me to set up some interfaces. So let me show you what actually interface is. So if I move back to my topology, you can see that there are different ports right there. Okay, so there are 2 ports. Okay, so there is a port, and there is another port, and there is another port. So these are all basically different ports. So these ports are known as interfaces. Okay, so for this CSC router, the question wants me to set up the first Ethernet 0/0 interface and serial 2/0 interface. So let me move back to my topology. So basically it is wanting me to set up this interface right there, serial 2/0, and this interface right here, first Ethernet 0/0 interface. Okay, so I wanna set them up using my command line interface. So I will write interface. Okay, interface fa 0/0. So I want to set up the first Ethernet port first. So interface slash and then the actual interface number. So fa 0/0. You don't need to give any spaces between that. So after that you can just hit enter. Alright, so let me tell you at this part, so what actually happened here. So you can see that I actually did write something, but it is giving me an incorrect it is giving me a message which is indicating that I have some invalid input right here. So why did it show me that? Okay, so it showed me that because I wrote this command in the wrong mode. So maybe I need to write this command. So maybe I need to write this command in global configuration mode. Okay, so let me try that. Configure terminal, and now I want to write the command interface fa 0/0, and you can see that it is the correct mode for writing this command. So this is just to show you that if I write a command in a wrong mode, then it will not be executed. It will show me an error, something like this, invalid input or something like this, and then I will know that I did write it in a wrong mode, so I need to move into a different mode and try the command again. So I moved into global configuration mode, and then I wrote the command again, and it was actually executed. And right now I'm in a different mode, so CSE config-if. So right now I'm basically in interface configuration mode. So now I can actually set up this interface. So I'm in this interface right now, and now I want to set this up. I want to set this up using the IP addresses, okay, using the IP addresses given in this table. So you can see that for CSE router, the first Ethernet 0/0 address should be this one, 192.168.25.254. Okay, and it is also giving me the slash notation of /24. So if you have seen the previous tutorial of our lectures, then you should know what this means, and you should be able to figure out the subnet mask from this information. Okay, so let me just move into my topology, and let me write the IP addresses right now. Okay, so IP, so this is the way to write the IP addresses. IP address, then I'll write the IP address given in the table. So 192.168.25.254. okay, and I will also write the subnet mask. Okay, the slash notation was given as /24. So if you can calculate, then you will see that the subnet mask will be this one, 255. All right, so sorry, 254.255. Yeah, sorry, I made a mistake. The subnet mask could be 255.255.255.0. okay, so this is the way to set up the IP address. IP, then space, then address, then space, then the actual IP address, then another space, and then the actual subnet mask. Okay, spacing is absolutely important for a command line interface, so make sure you remember how you need to write that specific command. Okay, so after that you will hit enter, and the IP address will be set. There will be no visible confirmation, but the IP address will be set. Okay, so after that you'll also need to do another thing. You'll see that I have already set up the IP address for our first Ethernet 00 interface, but you can still see that there is still a red marker showing right here, right? So for this marker to be green, you need to write another command. You need to now make your router on. All right, the router is currently inactive now. You need to make your router active. So to make sure that your router is active, you need to write another command, and that command is known as no shutdown. Okay, no shutdown. Okay, so by writing this command, you can actually make your router active. So after writing this command and hitting enter, you'll see that this turned to green right now. All right, so now the line is actually up. Now the router is actually active. Okay, so you can see that it is giving me some type of messages that line protocol on interface first Ethernet 00 changed state to up, because it was down before, but after after writing this command, now the state has been changed from down to up. Okay, so that's why it is giving me this message. And if you have the cursor here and you can see nothing right here, then don't worry, you just need to press enter and you will be back in your desired mode. Okay, so I hit enter and now I'm in the interface configuration mode again. So right now my first Ethernet 00 interface has already been set up. So right now I just need to exit from this interface. So to move out from an interface, you need to write exit. Okay, exit, and you can see that I have moved back into the global configuration mode. Okay, so right now I want to set up the serial 2/0 interface. Okay, so let me go back to my topology, and now I wanna move back to the serial 20 interface, 2/0. Okay, Yeah, so I'm in the serial 2/0 interface right now. So basically I want to set up this interface, and I will set up the IP addresses. And the IP address for this interface is actually 192.168.35.1, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. Okay, so the information is given right here. So I just put that IP address and I calculated the subnet mask based upon this. Sorry, this is the information. So I just wrote this IP address and calculated the subnet mask based upon this information over here. And that is how you can actually set up this interface. And just like the previous one, you will also need to activate this one. So you need to write no shutdown. You can also write no shut. Okay, no shut or no shutdown, these are the same thing. So you can also write no shut and then hit enter, and you can see that this connection right here, this interface right here, has actually turned to green now, and it is also giving me a message that serial 20 changed state to up. It was down before, but now it is up. All right, so that is how you can actually set up those interfaces. But after that, you still have another thing to do. You need to set up the clock rate. Okay, you need to set up the clock rate for this serial interface. Alright, so now you also need to set up a clock rate for this serial interface. So whenever you are setting up a serial interface, you need to remember that you need to set up the clock rate. The clock rate actually indicates the rate at which data is being sent from sender to receiver. Alright, so basically I just moved the wires a bit so that you can see that there is a clock sign right over here at this interface. So this clock sign indicates that you need to set up a clock rate. So let me just set up the clock rate right here. So I'm configuring the serial interface, so I just put no shutdown, and it showed me that my state is up now. So it is showing me nothing else right here, so don't worry. If you see something like this, just hit enter. Okay, so I hit enter, and I'm just back into that mode. And right now I'll be setting up the clock rate. I'm still inside this mode, this interface. Okay, I'm still inside this serial 2/0 interface, so I'll set up the clock rate. And clock rate is usually 64,000, so I'll put that value. Okay, and then hit enter. Okay, so the clock rate has been set up. All right, so right now if you want to see the completion rate, you can see that I have completed till 54% till right now. Okay, I have completed 54% till now. So let's move into the next part. All right, so let me move into the next part. The next question is, okay, so this is the next question. Interface description is CSE len, and this interface is actually indicating at that this interface fast Ethernet interface FA0/0. So we just set up both of our interfaces, the first Ethernet 0/0 and the serial 2/0, but now our work is to create a description for this interface, first Ethernet 0/0. So let me just move into my topology again, and now I want to go back to this interface, first Ethernet 0/0, and I want to set up that command as the description. Okay, so let me just move back from my serial 2/0 interface. So I'm exiting that interface, and now I am in global configuration mode, and now I will go back to first Ethernet interface again. Okay, so interface FA0/0, and now I moved back into first Ethernet 0/0 interface again. So now I want to set up a description. The command to set up a description is really simple. You just need to write description. Okay, so you just need to write description, and then you will write the actual description. Okay, so the description I want to write is this is CSC LAN. So it is important to write the description same as this one, because the activity wizard right here is actually set up based upon these questions. Okay, so that's why I need to write this exact same thing over there. So let me move into that part. Okay, so description, and the description is this is CSE LAN. Okay, so this is the description, and if I hit enter, then the description has been set, and you can see that the completion rate moved from 54% to 58%. Okay, so the description is done too. So let me move into the next part. So there's another task: configure a message which is known as message of the day in the router, and the message will be maintenance on Friday. And then it wants me to configure another message during login in the router, and that message will be restricted router. Okay, so let me move into the topology and write those commands. But you can see that the messages I need to write are actually indicating that I write them in the router. Okay, so let me show you how it can be done. Alright, so I need to set up a message first. Message, it is known as message of the day, maintenance on Friday. So I guess I need to write it in global configuration mode. So let's just move into global configuration mode, and now I'm gonna write that message. So banner. Okay, I just hit tab after writing ban, so it gave me the whole word banner. Then I need to write another keyword which is known as MOTD. Okay, MOTD means message of the day. Okay, MOTD, so banner MOTD, and then this actual message. Okay, so to write this message you have to follow a convention. The convention is you have to give a starting symbol. Okay, you need to give a starting symbol. So let's say you give hash. Okay, you give hash, so this is your starting symbol. Then you give a space, because in our question it is written that there should be a space at the beginning. Okay, we need to write it same as this one, because the activity wizard has been set up based upon this question. Okay, so that's why we need to give a space just like this. Okay, and at the end there is another space. All right, so yeah, so let me move into this one. So banner MOTD, then hash, this is the starting symbol, and then there will be a space, and then you will write the actual message, maintenance on Friday. Okay, then another space, and then there's another hash. Okay, so before the ending symbol there is another space. Okay, so this was the message, and I have written exactly that message. So remember, my completion rate is 58% till now, so if I can write this correctly, maybe it will increase a bit. So let's check. Yeah, so it moved from 58 to 62%. Okay, so now let's write the other message: configure a message during login in the router, and that message will be restricted router. Okay, that message will be restricted router. So how can I write this message? So at first I'll write banner as usual. So whenever I want to write a message, I'll just write banner at first. But if I want to set up a message of the day, then I will write MOTD. But if I want to write a message for the login part, then I will write login. Okay, banner space login, then the message, the actual message. So I'll give a starting symbol, then a space, and then the message, actual message, restricted router, and then another space, and then the ending symbol. Okay, the spaces I'm using, that's because there are spaces in my actual question. Okay, that's why I just wanna keep it same as this one. That's why I'm putting spaces over there. Okay, so restricted router, and then I will hit enter, and you will see that my compression rate jumped from 62 to 66%. Okay, so let me just give you a very short demonstration of how these banners actually work. So if I write exit and if I write exit again, so yeah, this is the very beginning, and if I press enter, then you can see right there, before even user access verification, it gives me the messages: maintenance on Friday, this is the message of the day, and this is the message that is shown before the login. So right now I want to log in and it is showing me the message restricted router. Okay, so right now I'll just give the password. So this is the user access verification password. This is actually the password that you set up during the you actually set up during the line console part. Okay, line console part. So that password was Cisco, and now we are in the user execution mode, and now if you write enable, then it will ask for another password, and this is the password that you set up to enter the privileged execution mode, and this password was class. So I wrote class and hit enter, and now I'm in privileged execution mode, and now I want to go into global configuration mode. Okay, so let me just show you another shortcut of going into global configuration mode. If you write configure terminal then and hit enter, you can go into global configuration mode, but you can also go into global configuration mode by just writing conf then space then t. Okay, conf space t, and you will be going and you will be into the global configuration mode. Okay, so let's move into our next task. Our next task is to save the running configuration to nvram. Okay, so basically it wants me to save all the informations that I have and that I have written till now in the nvram of this router. So to do that, I just need to write a very simple command, and that command is copy space run space start. Okay, yeah, so yeah, it's giving me another invalid input detected sign because maybe I didn't write it in the correct mode. Okay, so let me just move back a step. Okay, so this is the privileged execution mode, so I'll write my command again, copy run start, and yeah, you can see that it is working now. So yeah, sometimes you might be facing some type of mistakes, unintentional mistakes definitely, that you may be writing some commands in the modes where you are not supposed to, but then you will be given an error message, and then you can go forward using that error message. Okay, so just like I did. So right now copy run start, I want to save, and it prompts me for a destination file name. So for now I'll just hit enter, and it will give it a random name basically. So building configuration. Okay, so my all of my infos till now are saved. Okay, this okay right here is indicating that my command actually worked perfectly, and all the configurations are now saved in and all the configurations are now saved in the nvram right now. Okay, so this is the completion part, still 66%, because basically we did not do anything significant in this 7th step. We just saved the information, so it didn't actually help us increase any kind of completion rate. Okay, so let's move into our next task. So our next task is to configure PC0 and PC1 with IP addresses subnet mask given in these tables right here. Okay, so let me move into my topology. Okay, and you can see that I need to set up the PC0 and PC1 based upon these information, and let me show you how you can actually set them up. The important thing is to set up the PCs, you don't need to write commands, because in our just like in our real life, we can actually set our PC's IP address or subnet mask from our graphical user interface, but we can't do that in case of routers. That's why we used command line interface, but in case of PC we can actually do that easily. So how can we do that? Okay, so yeah, you might have another questions that in our routers we can actually use our graphical user interface, but consider that you are working in a large organization where all the things are done via commands. Okay, in industrial infrastructure you can't actually use your graphical user interface. You have to use the command line interface. So that's where these commands are actually really useful. But in case of PCs, you don't need to go into graphical user interface. You can just set them up using the IP configuration window. Okay, so this is PC0 and the IP will be 192.168.25.2. subnet mask will be, yeah, subnet mask will be this one, 255.255.255.0, and default gateway 192.168.25.254. Okay, so this will be the default gateway for this PC0, for this PC. Okay, so let me just give you a short intro about what default gateway is. So default gateway is like a default door that you need to pass to go from one place to another. For example, think about your room, that you want to go from your room to your parents' room. So if you want to go from if you want to go to another room from your room, then you definitely need to pass through the door of your room. So that door will be your default gateway. All right, so just like that, if there's an information that wants to go from PC0 to somewhere, to this somewhere in this network over here, somewhere in this part, then this information needs to get out via this configuration, right? This configuration right here, FA00. And if you can remember that we did set our fastethernet 00, and the IP address was actually, okay, let me show you this one, 192.168.25.254. So whenever there is something that wants to get out from PC0 and it wants to get out it wants to reach into this network over here, then it needs to get out via this interface right here, FA00. So this is the default interface, this is the default door that it needs to pass. So that's why the IP address written in this port is known as the default gateway. Okay, 192.168.25.254. okay, so DNS server is not important right now, so let me just cross it out. Okay, so that's it, PC0 has been set up. So now it's time for PC1. So I will also set up PC1 just like I did for PC0. Okay, so another thing that you can see that I have written the default gateway same as the previous one, because as you can see PC1 is also connected in this network right here. So for any information from PC1 to get out, it needs to pass via this port right here. Okay, so this will be the default gateway and the IP address is 192.168.25.254. okay, that's why it is written as the default gateway. So that's it, my PC0 and PC1 have been set up. So let me just see if they're okay. So you can see that there is significant improvement in the completion rate. So it is now showing 91% completion rate right now. Okay, so we have already completed task 8. So now let's move into task 9. So now it is telling me to ping from PC0 to PC1 at 192.168.25.25.3. okay, so yeah, so how can I ping and what is ping? So ping is basically a way to get a response from the receiver. Okay, so it is actually a way to check whether my connection is working correctly or not. So I want to go to PC0 and I want to go to command prompt, and then I want to write a command. The command is known as ping. Then it tells me that I need to ping from PC0 to PC1. So basically it means that I need to write ping, and then I need to give a space, and then I need to write an IP address, and then that IP address will be of the of PC1. okay, I need to write the PC1's IP address, and PC1's IP address is this 192.168.25.3. So this is actually the PC1's IP address. Alright, so ping 192.168.25.3, and then I hit enter. Okay, so you can see that I'm getting replies. Okay, it's like saying that I wanna make sure whether I'm getting response from someone. So I'm pinging a person, and that person is replying to me. So that means my communication with that specific person is all right. So yeah, do you have connectivity? Yes, I have connectivity. Answer should be yes, and answer is actually yes, I have connectivity. I sent 4 packets, I received 4 packets, I received actually 4 replies, so there is 0% loss basically. So the connection is working. Okay, and the thing is that sometimes you might get you might not get this very first response, and but you get the rest of the responses. So this can happen sometimes, so it's normal, so don't worry. As long as you are getting replies, you should be all right. Okay, so now let's check another thing. So now it wants me to ping the ECE router serial interface from CSE routers command line interface. Okay, so it wants me to ping the ECE router serial interface. So let me see the IP address for this serial interface. So serial 20.192.168.35.2. Okay, so this is the serial interface for this is the IP address for the serial interface for this ECE router. So 192.168.35.2. so let me ping that. Okay, ping 192.168.35.2. let me just check whether I'm correct or not. Yeah, 35.2. so answer should be yes, I should be able to get replies. So let me check. Yeah, sending 5 and success rate is 100%, so 5 out of 5 is received basically. So yeah, I'm getting responses, so the answer should be yes, and the answer is yes. But now let's check another thing. So now it wants me to ping PC0 to PC2. So PC0 again, command prompt, and now it wants me to ping PC2. Remember, PC2 is right there. Okay, PC2 is not in the same network as PC0. PC1 was in the same network as PC0. All right, but PC2 is a completely different. PC2 is in a completely different network. So let me see whether I can get a response from PC2 from PC0. So ping, and then I'll write the PC2 IP address. So 192.168.30.2. This is PC2's IP address. You can see. Let me show you. So this is the IP address for PC2. So I wrote that IP address, and then I hit enter, and you can see that I'm getting responses something like destination host unreachable or request timed out. All right. So I'm getting responses as destination host unreachable. So what does it mean? It means that I can't reach my destination. It is trying to give a message to PC2, but it actually can't reach PC2 because PC2 is in a different network, and there is no possible way for communication from PC0 to PC2. It's like saying that I live in Dhaka and my friend lives in Chittagong, and I just can't reach my friend because there is no street between Dhaka and Chittagong. Alright, so I need to set up a street, I need to set up a road by which I can actually travel from Dhaka to Chittagong, but that road has not yet been built. Alright, so that's why I can't reach Chittagong right now. So this is what's happening here. So answer should be no. Answer is actually no. We could not reach the receiver. We could not get any replies. So I have already explained why, because there is no possible connection set up between the two different networks. Okay, so our next task is to set up that connection, and this procedure is known as routing. All right, this procedure is known as routing. So to communicate between two different networks, there should be some type of specific routing procedure. So routing means the way how you can actually go from one network to another network. The whole concept of routing is based upon communication between two different networks. All right, so there are two networks, one is this one and the other is this one. So I need to communicate from this network to this network, so I need to set up a specific routing. So there are different types of routing, like static routing written over here, and there are some other types of routing like dynamic routing, and there are different parts of dynamic routing, different ways of dynamic routing, like RIP version 1, RIP version 2, or DHCP, or EIGRP, etc. All right, but for our experiment, we just want to learn the static routing. We will know about all the routings in computer networks course, but this is data communications course, and we just want to learn only one of those routing, and the static routing is one of the most fundamental routing procedure, and we'll learn how static routing works. Okay, so we'll basically set up a static route in our CSE router pointing to the LAN attached at the ECE router. So basically it means that I'll be setting up static routing in CSE router, and then I'll also configure another static routing in my ECE router, because whenever you want to communicate between two different networks, then you also need to set up the routing in both of those corresponding routers. All right, so I need to set up this router for static routing, and I also need to set up static routing in this router too. So all the routers need to be set up using static routing. So let me just move into the static routing part now. Alright, so I want to set up the static routing in CSE router. So this is the command line interface of CSE router. So the way to set up the static routing is that at first you need to write IP, then you need to write route, okay, IP route, and then you need to write a specific address which is known as network address. And since you have already completed the previous tutorial, then you should be able to know what a network address is. All right, so if you still don't know what a network address is, please go back to the previous tutorials, or maybe search over the internet to learn what a network address is, and then come back to this tutorial again. So I'm assuming that you already know how to calculate the network address. So you'll need to write the network address here, and that network address will be the network address for the destination. Okay, so I'm setting up the static routing in this router. My intended destination is basically this network where my cursor is right now. All right, so to know the network address of this network, I can do several things. All right, so the easiest way would be something like this, that I just need to know the IP address of any of those hosts right there. So this PC2 is a host, this server is a host. Okay, so I need to know the IP address for any of those hosts. So let me just check this one. So 192.168.30.2. all right, /24. So this is the IP address. So if I know that IP address with the slash notation, then I can definitely find out the network address from that IP address, right? I can definitely find the network address for that IP address. So I can also do that for my server too. So the IP address is 192.168.30.3. basically both of them are the same network, and I can still see the IP address of server is 19. Okay, let me show you again, 192.168.30.3/24. so if I know all of these, then I can definitely find out the network address from that IP address and the slash notation, right? And the network address will be 192 192.168.30.0, right? This will be the network address, and based upon those IP addresses I will also write the subnet mask. So the subnet mask will be really simple. So 255.255.255.0. okay, that's the subnet mask. Okay, so let me just rewind. So the way to set up the static routing is to write this command there. At first write IP, then give a space, then write route, then another space, and then the destination network address, the network address of that destination. I'm setting up the static routing in CSE router, so the destination will be this part over here, okay, this network over here. So I wrote the network address for this network, okay, and then the subnet mask for that specific network address, okay, 255.255.255.0. all right, that's it. And after that you still have another task left, and the task is to write another address here, and that address will be the next hop IP address. So what do I mean by the next hop IP address? So let me show you. So I'm setting up the static routing right here. So the next hop IP address will be this interface right here, okay. So I'm gonna go into this network, and to go into this network, the next hop, the next interface that should be traveled from this CSE router is actually this one. So I need to write this the IP address of this interface right here, okay. So the IP address for this interface is actually, let me show you, the IP address for this serial 2/0 interface is 192.168.35.2, okay. So 192.168.35.2, okay. Okay, as you can see that the command was wrong because I wrote it in the wrong mode again, so please pardon my mistake, and let me move into the correct mode, okay. So I'll write this whole command again. Alright, so I have written the whole command again, and as you can see now it's working. So make sure that you remember that you need to write the static routing command in global configuration mode, okay. I wrote it in privileged execution mode by mistake, so you need to write it in global configuration mode. Alright, so this is how we can actually set up the static routing in case of CSE router. But our work is still not done yet. We still have to do the setup for ECE router. We still have to set up the static routing for this ECE router over there, okay. So let me move into that one right now. Alright, so let's move into the ECE router. So press return to get started. Alright. Okay, so in the ECE router I need to set up the static routing, so I need to go back to, I need to go to the global configuration mode. Alright, so at first I need to move into the privileged execution mode, and from there I need to go into global configuration mode, and now I'm in global configuration mode, and now I will write the command for static routing. So in this case I want to move I want to set up the routing in ECE router. So my destination is basically this network over here, the CSE network, okay. So I need to write the network address for this network over there. So if I take a look at any of those hosts, then I can easily find out their IP address, and from there I can actually calculate the network address. All right, so 192.168.25.0, that will be the network address for this network, and the subnet mask will be 255.255.255.0. all right, and the next hop IP address, okay, the next hop IP address. So when we set up the static routing for CSE router, then the next hop was this one, The next hop is usually the interface that you will be jumping from the router you're working on next. Alright, so in the case of CSE it was this interface, and in case of ECE the next interface that you will be jumping onto from the router you're working on will be this interface. Okay, this interface right here, SE20. So you need to write the IP address for this interface. So the SE20 interface has an IP address of 192.168.35.1. Okay, so let me just write into this one, 6835.1. all right. So let me remind you again that we're working on ECE router, and at first IP, then space, then route, then the network address for the destination network, so this CSE network, and then the subnet mask for this network, and finally the next hop IP address. Okay, the next hop IP address. So the next hop IP address is this, the IP address of this interface over here, because this is the interface which will be traversed next from ECE router. Okay, so this is the interface, so that's why it is called the next hop, and this is the IP address of this interface. Similarly, in case of CSE, the next hop IP address was the IP address of this interface over there. Okay, all right. So after writing this whole command in the ECE router, I'll just press enter, and it should be 100% right now. Yeah, so the completion rate is 100% right now, as you can see. All right, so all of my works are actually done. So right now let me just ping once again to understand whether it is actually working or not, to verify actually. So ping from PC0 to PC2. So remember, previously we did ping from PC0 to PC2. This is the IP address of PC2, but it didn't work. It gave me a message like destination host unreachable. So let me just ping it again. Okay, I wanna ping it again, and this time I should be getting some kind of replies. All right, so yeah, so as you can see, the first request was timed out. It can sometimes happen because of what can I say, because of too many traffics in the network, or maybe the network was not working for a long time, so there was a bit of jammed network issues inside the network. But after the first request was timed out, all the remaining requests were actually all the remaining replies were actually sent back to the sender, right? So we know that our connection is working. Now if you want to ping again, you will get all the responses. All right, so as you can see, the responses are working, so that means there is an active connection between PC0 and PC2. So there is an active connection between this network over here and this network over here. All right, so this active connection was only possible because we did set up a routing procedure in our topology, and we set up a static routing in our CSE router and also in the ECE router. That's why we could communicate between those networks from CSE network to ECE network. All right, so yeah, I have the connectivity right now. Answer should be yes, and yeah, we are getting the connectivity. Why? Because we set up the routing between those two networks. All right, so this is basically how you can actually set up a whole topology. Okay, I have shown many different things here, like how you can actually create a host name for the router you are using, or how you can actually set up different interfaces, how you can actually set up different pieces IP addresses, and finally how you can actually communicate between two different networks by setting up static routing between them. All right, so hopefully all of you have understood it in the correct way, and please watch the tutorial again and again if you don't understand something. And if you have any questions, please let me know them via the comment section, and I'll try to answer them as fast as possible. And tutorial, see you in the next one.